Something I want to talk about is how tyranny uses sex as its main weapon. In every civilization I can think of, social degeneracy and debauchery seem to be on the agenda in order to keep the masses in check. I mean, when you think about ancient Rome, it was a very empirical state. It was horrible to live in unless you were super rich. And what did they do to keep the populace in check? Well, they had pedophilia, homosexuality, orgies, and lion pits. They used to put prisoners in lion pits and watch them battle to the death in gladiator matches or against wild animals for their amusement. This is akin to how today we have Fear Factor, where we watch poor people, eat maggots and donkey semen, and that's supposed to be amusing. Why is that amusing to watch a fellow human being degrade themselves because they so desperately want or need money? We should not be so desperate to have money that we're willing to demean ourselves to the level of mere entertainment for some slack-jawed yokel, And it's always like that. And when I think about the internet, I think about how much pornography is ingrained into the internet culture, and how it all makes sense why there's so many moderators and there's so many control freaks. I mean, you think about 4chan. 4chan is a beacon of every pornographic image you could ever imagine, and it also has some of the most tightly knit moderator staff ever imaginable. Why is this? Wouldn't it make sense that if you were so sexually liberal, you would be liberal on everything else? No, it doesn't work that way. They use sex as a means to control people's minds. They know people are distracted by the boobies and the vaginas, and they're not paying attention to the fact that they're getting treated like shit. Because if they didn't have the sex, they'd actually be focusing on something constructive. Maybe not constructive, but they certainly wouldn't be as distracted. And that's the thing. Or how I mostly want to talk about Richard the Rapist Buhler. I've said 1,000 times the story of Richard the Rapist Buhler and why I call him the rapist. But I had an epiphany that the reason why he doesn't allow politics but has that LGBT topic plastered all over the wall is because he wants to hear about underage girls and boys' sexual exploits. I'm not a detective, I'm not a mind raider, I don't know if that's his goal, but it seems awfully likely that the reason why he doesn't allow politics, because he's an egomaniacal son of a bitch that likes to control the atmosphere of the forum, but allows LGBT and other topics about people's personal lives, is because he's a sick fuck that gets off on that. He faps to the idea of you talking about your personal life and your personal sexual experiences, and he especially likes knowing that most of his forum members are underage, and it's the closest thing a cowardly little scoundrel like him is going to get to molesting a child. Now, like I said, I don't know that for certain, but I'm 99% sure. It just all adds up. All the evidence adds up to these tyrannical dictator wannabes being the type of sexual criminals that you see on Dateline. It goes hand in hand. Sociopath begets sociopath. And there's different methods to being a sociopath, but usually when you get one, you get the other. And I just wanted to point that out. I will link to a Wikipedia article or something about Richard the Rapist Buhler if I can find it, and you could see more details about him yourself if you choose to. See you later.